Hello and welcome to the Places in the Media class. In this class, we're going to be engaging with how geography as a field of thought engages with the media. And so it's not just going to be about places, though we primarily do focus on places, but we're going to learn some of the basic concepts and constructs associated with geography, like place, space, mobility, meaning, and then apply those as well as some cultural concepts to the media to see how different representations of these spatial understandings play out. So this is one of my favorite classes to teach of all time. You're going to have a blast. So we're going to dive in and look at a bunch of different modern media as well as older media, and then sort of tease out what are the meanings associated with this. How are those meanings interpreted differently by different people? And also, can we kind of develop our own critical thinking skills around how the media is presenting information and become better consumers of information and better advocates for our own identity, our own personalities, and our own morality, even, if you will. So we're going to have 7 modules because this is a 7-week class. Each module is about a week in length, though typically the first module might be a little bit longer because we'll try to begin and end every Sunday, but the beginning of the semester typically starts a little bit before a Sunday. There will be what I will call materials that you will go through in an asynchronous fashion. That means that you go through it at your own pace during the week when you get the chance, but each module should be done in a 1-week period. So there'll be asynchronous materials that are lectures that are done by me as well as by Georgia Davis, who has previously taught the class and also was a very dynamic journalist, which you'll see. She's got a great voice, so she's got some good audio lectures as well on some of the material. So you'll see lectures by both Georgia and I. You'll see some reading materials that you absolutely can't miss. You have to do those, okay? And then you'll see different applications of those readings and lectures to media sources as well. And I particularly pay close attention to music videos. I think that they're really fun to see how those play out and that they're more understandable to us in today's culture. But we'll also look at some television shows, some commercial and advertisement, documentaries, feature films, things like that. So we're going to have a lot of fun kind of cruising around different media sources. Each week, based on those materials, there will be a quiz or a review summary of that module. So every module has a quiz.
You can now take the quiz up to 3 times.
You should do the quiz at the end of the module after you've done all the materials, all the readings, watching all the videos, watch all the lectures. So please do those things first, okay? There will also be one exercise every week. Those exercises or activities that we'll do each week are due before the end of the module, so make sure to do them. The things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be working together on creating a course atlas, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you're going to fill out information associated with those questions on a Google application called My Maps, which is quite fun. And so this is one way that we can kind of get to know each other instead of doing the standard sort of written discussion format. But there'll be a couple other exercises as well. But the Google My Maps, I've had a lot of fun setting those up for you.
So one of the main activities that we'll be doing throughout the course of Places in the Media is the Atlas Project. This is a brand new component to it that goes alongside the already existing Community Atlas Project, where we ask questions and then all the students respond and we share a Google map. This is completely different. We are now going to be making our own personal atlas, and we're going to be focusing this atlas on social justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion issues as they relate to each of the modules in the course as we go along. The grading has been changed quite substantially because of this too, that the overall points for this Atlas project, your personal atlas, is about 50% of your grade, or 48.8% of your grade. A couple of tips when we begin to set up the project that I'd like to tell you now is to make a separate Google account just for this educational project. Call it whatever you would like, but Geog 205, places in the media, something like that with your initials on it. But make a simple Google account and use that Google Drive, Google Sites, and Google My Maps all under that account. So this way that you can keep your personal life and your personal data separate from this account as well, okay? And then when it's done, you can leave it up to show to your friends and family, or if you'd rather turn it off, you can have the privacy rights to get rid of it, okay? Just a good suggestion. Save all of your images and maps into folders. I would try to save them by module or maybe by theme, but just get all of your maps and all of your images into the Google Drive folder online. All right, these will be used throughout making Google Sites. Google Sites are where you go and you develop web pages. I have created my own Google Sites Places in the Media Atlas project as a template for you to look at, to use for inspiration as you make your own. And let's begin by starting there. And then the first thing that I'm going to have you do this week is actually to make the architecture of your media project by setting up your Google Sites account, going in and making 7 modules under a home page so that your beginning web page will have 8 pages. So let's take a look at the professor's Places in the Media Atlas as a template for something to go to and to look at for inspiration. This is the home page for mine. It just lists the modules. Each of these modules will be activities that you'll do as you proceed through the class on subjects that related to materials that were looked at during those modules. You'll make, in each one of them, there'll be a mapping activity, and usually involving 2 or 3 different sources. In the first one here, we see we make Google My Maps using US Census data. And then looks like Module 2 does a follow-up on the LA comparison. Module 3 takes a look at Levittown, Daisy and William Myers Geographic Case Study, which is about racial covenants and about the first Black residents of a Levittown in Pennsylvania. Module 4 takes a little closer look at Levittown using suburbanization data from the census and redlining mapping to get a better perspective on how this types of institutionalized racism from the U.S. federal government have legacies on the landscape today, and does some examples, and then you'll kind of work through a series of activities to look at those legacies. Being at the University of Arizona, we need to respectfully acknowledge that the university is on the land and territories of indigenous people. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federal recognized tribes, with Tucson being home to the O'odham and Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign nations, indigenous communities, through education, offering partnerships and community services. And it gets into why these are important and how all land is native land, that people have existed in places for a long time, and works through how some of this plays out in the history of mapping in the federal legislation in the United States, which is quite fascinating and uses U.S. Library of Congress data. So please spend some time with that one. Module 6 takes a look at inequalities across the globe, comparing the poorest states in the United States to other countries in the world, and seeing what kinds of relations we can kind of build across inequities across the world. And the last module is to do some conclusions, look at some of the things you might have enjoyed the most, have some discussions about what we've covered, and fill out the Atlas project itself. You'll mainly be working on the back side of it, which is where you're editing the document. And this is where you can do inserting themes and items, switching pages to work on different projects, But mainly you'll do one module a week. And in the first week, you set up the architecture, and in week 7, you put up the paint and clean it up and get it ready to show for all students in the class. And we're very excited to see what you come up